Hello, welcome to Canvas the Niger-Delta Roundtable, where I discuss the future of this region, humongously blessed with hydrocarbon resources. Every week, we give time to reflecting on topics relevant to the development of the Niger-Delta and her people. Now, this episode, no different. We've been doing this for some time now. We're continuing. I'm here, and we're focusing on how to take this region to a more promising future. The podcast is sponsored by the operator of the NNPC, Renaissance Total Energies Ajib joint venture, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited, headquartered in Port Harcourt. We appreciate you for joining. I'm Adidayo Edushakin. A topic for this episode, the cost of truth. Now, earlier this month, by the way, this is May, on May 3 precisely, the world marked World Press Freedom Day, a moment to reflect on the role of journalism in society and the conditions under which journalists work. This year's theme is Shaping a Future and Peace, promoting press freedom for human rights, development, and security. It's a theme that feels especially urgent across the world today, or on well, this during this period. Journalists are being harassed, detained, threatened, assaulted, silenced, and in some cases killed simply for doing their jobs, reporting facts, asking questions, being or bearing witness, telling stories some would rather keep hidden. This episode is not just about press freedom as an abstract principle. It's about people, it's about courage, and it's about the cost of truth in an increasingly unstable world. Again, our topic for this episode of Canvas is the cost of truth, and my guest is Olalekan Ige. Olalekan Ige is the editor of the Independent Monitor newspaper, and has over 20 years cognate experience in communications, media, and public relations. Lekon, hi. Welcome to Canvas in Niger-Delta Roundtable.
Yeah.
It's great to have you. It's always a pleasure having a conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Just before we say recording, I was saying that, um, as you know, and as some other persons might know, I did radio for several years, including here in the wonderful city of Port Harcourt. And one of my best moments on radio, which happened severally, was having a conversation with you, interviewing you on very, very important matters. I'm relishing this conversation already.
Oh, thank you so much. It's good to uh, always have you and interview me, and of course share our thoughts on what happens. Not just within the confines of Nigeria, even outside the shores of Africa, and of course the rest of the world.
Quite instructive as well is, I think it was last year, World Press Freedom Day.
Yeah.
You were here as well. We had a conversation on World Press Freedom Day also.
Yeah.
When I thought to have a conversation on that today, it was an easy choice for me, an easy pick to just say, let's do it again with Lekon this time around.
Okay.
And with your years, of experience, you've seen, change is constant, as with everything else,
Yeah.
the practice of journalism. So you've witnessed, you've observed, you've experienced, you've been a part of change in that field across the years.
True.
And even in the past 1 year as well, there may have been some changes. And I hope that this conversation, we can explore some of those changes that may have happened in the last year over the course of several years, and dissect and bring out some truths to this situation.
Okay, certainly.
What does World Press Freedom Day mean to you personally? And I know if we did a quick Google search, we'll find definitions. If you go to the UN page, you'll find something very nicely written there. And that speaks to some truths as well. But you, as someone who's practiced this for decades, and I dare say it defines who you are as a person. What does it mean to you?
Well, I think if you look at all of what led to why May 3rd was singled out to celebrate World Press Freedom Day by the United Nations, then you understand the periods we have gone through, in human history. If you look at Nigeria before independence, during independence, and of course after independence. So essentially, what press freedom is just simply means our ability as journalists to be able to carry out our responsibilities without fear or favor, without being harassed, without being intimidated, without threat, from people. Just be able to do our work, enlighten members of the public, entertain, inform, and of course, help in the development of the society without being echoed, by those who feel that nobody should know what they are doing. To me, it's just the ability to practice freely, fairly freely. I'm going to use that word, our profession without threats.
This year's theme has, at the beginning, shaping a future at peace. What's your understanding of that phrase, I think?
If you say shaping a future at peace, there can't be development without accountability. And of course, crucial to accountability is the media, because we help to ask questions, we help to make investigations, we help to inform people, we help to find out what is going on. And if you are looking at peace, not just in the future, even now, then it means that we need to have accountability. It means that we need to be able to interrogate those who hold public office, those who hold certain positions that are crucial, to the development of the world. We are not just called the fourth estate of the realm for nothing. Fourth estate in the sense that we are probably the only institution that can interrogate the legislature, the judiciary, and of course, the executive. So it means that if you pull all of that together and you're looking at development and you're looking at accountability and you're looking at the ability of the people to know what is going on, then you need to have a media that is responsible, that is decent, and that is progressive minded, because you can't have development without a progressive minded media. So for us to have peace in the future, it means we must lay certain foundations upon which people can build their hopes and aspirations, and who can help people to dream, who can help people to reason, who can help people to participate, even in democracy. Then you say the media occupies a very crucial role in shaping the world at peace.
Do you think that the people understand the things you just said right now about the role that the media plays in shaping that future?
Yeah, your question will be pertinent, especially for third world countries, which incidentally, Nigeria is a member of the third world country. Quite important. Do the people really understand? And you also have to go back and understand the background, from which the people are coming. You're looking at the background of poverty, you're looking at the background of economic inequality, you're looking at the background of failure in governance, you're looking at the background of leaders who have not lived up to the responsibilities, leaders who have been elected into the office and didn't do anything, or refused, should I use the word now, to do anything to better the lots of people. So these people, how do they even understand what is going on? So that's why you see that the media has been at the, should I say, the media has been at the forefront of allowing the people, enabling the people to know what is going on. I can say without fear or favor that without the media, especially in third world countries, things could have even been worse than what it is at the moment. So we cannot shrink away from our responsibilities and say, look, we'll continue to flow with the tide. No, we need to continue to evolve as those who hold political positions evolve, so that we can ensure that we keep people abreast of what is going on.
But do those people in those third world countries, do they get it?
They get it. They get it. You can understand that, look, in terms of enlightenment, the enlightenment is growing. I did say earlier that one of the things that has held a lot of people down, particularly in third world countries, has been that of poverty, has been that of access to economic equality, access to equal opportunities, and all of that. We've helped in several ways to at least let people know this is where you should be heading to. We've helped in terms of carrying out investigations to find out whether, look, what was budgeted for is what has been expended. If it has not been expended, this is what is outstanding. Yes, I also agree that we have the challenge of the same people we are trying to inform also saying, look, Why do you have to bother Mr. A for what he's doing? How is that your business? We elected him. How is it your responsibility to go and ask him how he's spending the money? That's not your responsibility. We have elected him, allow him to do the job. So we are in a very delicate balance of trying to help the people who want to know and they're trying to know, and those who doesn't want to know at all. It's a delicate balance for us, especially in the third world countries.
It's easy and possibly even rightly so, plausibly so, I think, to ascribe that deficiency to third world countries, and it's also easy, I presume, to reach a conclusion that people in first world countries generally get it. But if you observe current trends, even that can be called to question. If you observe international politics and what's playing out around the world these days, if the people of first world countries even get it as well.
Well, you can look at backgrounds.
Yeah.
You can look at opportunities. You can look at enlightenment. So when you look at first world countries, there are certain basic fundamentals that are crucial to human existence. For first world countries, you can say, look, they've been able to at least achieve maybe reasonably up to 70 to 80 or 90% in terms of basic needs of human existence. So if you look at the first world countries, the issue of electricity is not a problem. Food is not a problem. Water is not a problem. Look at the principles behind the sustainable development goals. They are not issues in the first world country. So the standard principle is that, look, the basic necessities of life are available. So it helps the people to shape their opinion. It helps the people to make up their mind. Employment is available, even though you can't say it's 100%, but at least people have access to employment, opportunities. People are able to earn a means of livelihood. In some countries, for those who are not even employed, they are entitled to certain social security funds, to enable them, tag along, in life. But so contrast that with third world countries. We are still struggling to have portable water. We are still struggling to have decent housing. We are still struggling to even be able to afford 3 square meals a day. We are still struggling to even get employment. We are struggling in terms of our economic capital. So when you contrast the first world and the second world and the third world, you understand that the certain basic principles of life are already settled in first world countries. So it helps to shape the way and manner they reason. You look at the third world countries, we seem to rely more or majority of our problems and attribute it, maybe to the wish of God, or we are quick to say that, look, if it's God that says so, well, maybe that's what happened, or it is God that puts leaders in positions. Oh, God will help us change, the next leader. Contrast that with what happens, in the first world countries. That's why when you see people traveling from third world countries and they're able to go to Europe, for example, you find out that majority of what they pray to God for while they are at home are just simply available at the click of a button abroad. So it means the way and manner you pray when you're in a foreign country, maybe in Europe, in the America, is completely different from the way and manner you pray when you're at home. At home, you think there are a lot of enemies running after you. When you're in Europe, you find out that there are actually no enemies. It's the way and manner the society has progressed, through their evolution that has helped shaped their history.
Or that the enemies are even chilling, having a coffee somewhere.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, what happened to your cup, Lekon? We had 2 cups on the table here a while ago. Where's yours?
I think I'm done with the business of the day.
No, but where's the cup?
Okay, stand here.
No, we need to have it on the
okay.
place. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Do you want the refill of what you
If I can get
what you were having?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So when we go on the break, we'll have a refill of that. So you've been in the industry once again for decades, over 20 years. I'm sure at the time you started there were risks to journalists. I mean, talking about risks to journalism and journalists is a tale as old as time. Um, how have those risks changed over the years, especially in recent times?
Well, it depends on the platform upon which you are looking at this. Are you saying in Nigeria or are you saying outside of Nigeria?
Let's have all perspective.
Okay,
Let's have a wide perspective.
Okay, if you have to have a wide perspective, of course, you understand that in some of the developed world, the risks to journalists are quite few, not much, because their society has developed over a period of time. If you contrast that, with the third world countries, and let's take example, especially from sub-Saharan Africa, and narrow it down to Nigeria, has the risk reduced? The answer is absolutely no. The risk has even increased. Has increased in the sense that we now have people who hold political office and do not want to be questioned at all. And you're wondering, how are they getting so emboldened, over a period of time? And you look at the background upon which you have been, going through, then you understand why a lot of people who hold political office are not getting emboldened to be able to look, let's harass them. Let's find out what happened. Not too long ago, the National Broadcasting Commission came out and said, look, about those who appear on programs, about the responsibility of the on-air personalities who interview these people, about those who hold certain opinions, and all of that. And they were going to sanction them. So you have a National Broadcasting Commission that is the regulator in the industry and is already threatening certain media houses over the kind of guests they bring in, over what those that are even the anchor, over what they should be saying. You can see a subtle threat now from even a National Broadcasting Commission that should be the regulator for the industry. Then you begin to wonder, how can a regulator be the complainant, the prosecutor, and be the judge? There's no way, absolutely no way, that the National Broadcasting Commission should be saying that. If the NBC feels that any media house whatsoever or any journalist whatsoever has gone against the rules of the game, what the NBC should ordinarily do is to approach the court of law. The NBC can be the judge, the complainant, and the prosecutor in its own case. You expect that the NBC should have gone to court and say, look, Mr. A has gone against the code of the profession. These are the infractions he has committed. Court, please find him guilty. You allow the process to go through the normal normal travels of the court, and let the court make a final pronouncement whether that person is guilty or not. So you understand that over the years, the NBC is becoming more emboldened, even on its own part. Are they being prodded by those who hold political position? Is arguable. Are there people who are beating the drum for them? I think only the NBC can answer. Even look at those who hold political, position. These days, they're afraid of media houses, or journalists, even talking about their activities in office. Before you know it, they're already writing a petition to the Inspector General of Police or the Commissioner of Police or whatever that holds any special position, the DSS. Before you know it, the journalist is arrested and taken straight, to court. From the court says, no, let's look at the matter first, remand him in prison, custody. And it's becoming more and more over the years. You think that, look, the journey we have traveled through, with democracy in Nigeria, you expect that those who hold political office should become, their temperament towards the media particularly, should be a little bit better in terms of their exposure, in terms of their reasoning, in terms of the way and manner they've been elected into office. But it's not reducing in any way whatsoever.
Has the practice of journalism become increasingly risky, or let me use a stronger term, dangerous over time, and especially more recently?
Yeah, I agree with, yes. The answer is yes. Yes, in the sense that the way
I'm glad you stopped agreeing with me because I wasn't making a statement.
no, I had to say no. I had to say yes. My answer, my answer to what you have said is yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in the sense that we have also not been helped, by political parties. Remember, you can't contest any election without going through a political party. And because you can't do that, it means that it is the responsibility of political parties to head on. It is the responsibility of political parties to look at candidates that can buoy up, the chances of that political party in winning election. Meaning that if we are going to recruit people to become your candidates for general election, it means you should be looking at the best of the candidates. But what do we have in political parties? We have in political parties where a godfather wakes up one morning and buys single-handedly buys form for people to contest an election. That same godfather is also desperate for people to win election. So what happens in that kind of situation? You have people who occupy office by accident. You have people who are not even prepared to be local government chairman. You have people who are not even prepared and they're elected to become House of Assembly members. You have people who know nothing about legislature. They're elected into the House of Reps. They're elected in the Senate because their godfathers have simply bought the form. Their godfathers even go ahead to campaign on their behalf. So it means there's a certain level of desperation by such candidates when they get into office. There's a desperation to either make returns to their godfather or desperation to even remain in office because they know they are not doing well, but they are desperate to get a second term in office. So in their desperation, there are a lot of loopholes they leave behind. And the media comes in when there's a loophole. Okay, you were elected into office as a governor. What have you done so far? You had a budget, say XYZ, to build certain facility. 1 year later, the facility has not been built, and according to your own record, money has been released. So the media comes in and say, look at the loophole. You made a budget, you claim the money has been released. Look at what is on ground. You have released XYZ. What is on ground is not even up to 25% of what you have spent. Okay, come and explain what happens. So you find out that a man that is desperate can do anything. A desperate man means he can take desperate measures. And part of the desperate measures he can take is that either against the police to arrest the reporter or close down the media house. Of course, get to the extreme of saying, look, I do not want that man, to see the next day. They begin to look for assassins to track down such journalists and say, look, they must be killed. We've had that, in recent time. We've had situations where media houses have been closed down. We've had situations where journalists have been attacked, by thugs sponsored by those who hold political office. Even when the thugs know that what you are doing is for their own benefit, of course, because there's a monetary consideration behind their thuggery, they are willing to go even against their own wish.
Are you suggesting, Legon, that politicians or political parties or elections form the exclusive threat to journalism or journalists in our climate?
There is no way you can separate politics from governance. There is no way you can separate politics from the development of any nation, because it is those who hold political office that drive the development of any nation. Check all of the countries that are first world countries today. They've been driven by those who hold political office. They've been driven by those who hold not just the executive position, by those who have been governors, by those who have been prime ministers, by those who have been members of legislature, those who have been blessed with the ability to think, for the future, those who know what is to come. So it means that they've been able to evolve through a process where they know that this candidate will do well. And the candidates, fortunately, also know that if they don't perform well, they will not return to office because democracy is at its best. Contrast that with the third world countries. I'm sure you know that we have countries in Africa where they have had president for the last 40 years. We're in a continent where we have had leaders who have continuously won election completely against the run of play. Politicians who have continued to rig themselves into office. A desperate man, like I said, can take desperate measures. So the future, the development of any country, the prosperity of any country is driven by those who hold political positions, the president, the governor, members of legislature. They are crucial. Even the judiciary is crucial to the development of any nation. So just imagine that you don't have good people holding executive position, you don't have good people holding legislative position, and you also don't have good people holding judiciary or judicial positions. How do you expect such a country to develop?
Speaking of countries or nations, what happens to, and I'll use the word societies now, what happens to societies where journalists are rudimentarily intimidated or even silenced?
It's so obvious to answer. Such societies don't progress. You can't have a society where you cannot question those who hold leadership positions. If you can't question those who hold leadership positions, how then do you expect the country to develop? So you understand when journalists try to ask questions, when journalists try to investigate, when journalists try to even inform the people, you understand why you now have threats, being issued. You understand why people feel threatened, and they feel the only way they can subjugate the media is to order mass arrest, send them to jail, charge them for frivolous, matters in the court. Even some of the politicians know that there's no substance, in the charge, but they want to take it to court. Of course, you already know the way the judicial position is in Nigeria. You can be in court for 20 years, you can be in court for 30 years, you can be in court and the judge starts a matter, and 2 years into the matter, that same judge is promoted into the Court of Appeal. If the judge is promoted to the Court of Appeal, it means that whichever judge that is taking over that matter starts the matter all over again. You understand the way judiciary has worked, over the years. Then you understand why Nigeria's development has been held down and why we're in such a difficult position.
You described extensively how political class behavior, including, of course, political parties, directly impacts development. How does press freedom link up with that, directly impacting the development of a society?
Press freedom is crucial to the development of any nation. The media has been blessed with the ability to interrogate those who shape policies, those who make programs, those who bring about development, to the society. So for those who are members of the executive, for those who are members of the legislature, for those that are in judiciary, the media has been blessed with that responsibility to interrogate them. And if the if the media does not interrogate these people who occupy the three arms of government, it means that there cannot be any development. It means that people are at liberty to do whatever they like. It means that you are now encouraging impunity. Look at the trajectory of media in Nigeria. Before independence, the media was at the forefront of Nigeria's quest for independence. Upon independence, the media was at the forefront of the military intervention, especially from 1966, when we had the first coup in Nigeria, from 1966 to 1979, when we had the first democratically elected president in Nigeria. All of through this history, since 1999, when democracy returned to Nigeria during the military junta era and all of that, you've had the media consistently present. And look, without the media, especially in Nigeria, holding leaders accountable upon independence, after independence, I don't think we'll have been able to achieve much of what we have achieved in Nigeria today. Look at the history too. We've also had journalists, that have been killed. One of the most celebrated cases is that of Dele Giwa, who received a pencil bomb, opened it, and was killed. And of course, all of us know that Dele Giwa was on an investigation about a certain lady who was accused of being a drug courier for the wife of a sitting military president. That was not the case. And Dele Giwa paid the supreme price. He was killed. You've had journalists who have been summarily arrested, especially during the military era, and jailed. You have some that were even accused of being privileged to a coup, and they were sentenced, to life imprisonment without allowing them to go through the normal process of a civilian court and proving the evidence against them beyond reasonable doubt. Remember the Bagada Kalto that was killed somewhere in northern Nigeria because he was working on a case. So you now begin to understand why the media, the freedom of the press is crucial to the development of any nation, not just any nation, particularly in Nigeria.
But this canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, in commemoration of World Press Freedom Day 2026, we're discussing the topic, the cost of truth, with a journalist who's been there, done that, seen everything, got several T-shirts, Olalekan Ige. We go for a break, we'll return shortly. This conversation is not over. Please stay with us.
In the heart of our journey, where the sun touches the earth and the wind whispers through the trees, a new chapter unfolds. A chapter where energy illuminates more than just bulbs. It lights up minds. A chapter of unity, a coming together with a common goal to energize futures and illuminating lives. In classrooms, young dreams evolve, inspired by the promise of a brighter tomorrow fueled by available energy. Small businesses flourish, becoming seeds of prosperity. Energy that empowers and is catalyst for growth and change. The future is energy. So, let's light up the path to a sustainable future together. Energy for you, me, and the world at large. Energy for people and planet. We are Renaissance.
Welcome back. It's Canvas and Niger-Delta Roundtable brought to you by Renaissance. I'm Dio. In commemoration of World Press Freedom Day 2026, the cost of truth is our conversation. My guest is Olalekan Ige. Lekon, great to have you here once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
A lot has changed over the years. I remember making a phone call using a Nitel phone booth when I was in secondary school in Ogumosho, proud to have attended the federal government college. I would have to go on our outing days. I would look for a Nitel phone booth somewhere in town, Taki in Ogumosho and that such places, and we'll go there and would pay someone to use a card to call my mom or call somebody else. And in Lagos as well, it was the norm. But now, and I saw the progression. I witnessed the progression to the advent of the GSM technology in Nigeria. I have a smartphone now, and so do millions of other Nigerians. Not just in Nigerians, but globally, we have witnessed enormous transformations into what we now refer to as a digital age. And it's affected every facet of our existence. To what extent and how has journalism been affected by the digital age?
Well, Daya, I think before I answer your excuse me, please, question, I would rather say pro unitate. I would say pro unitate because, of course, I attended two federal government colleges.
Wow.
Federal Government College Ugolawo, then it was in Benue State, but now it's in Kogi State, and of course, Federal Government College Idwani in Ondo State. I started from Ugolawo. I started from Ugolawo. I was actually admitted, into Federal Government College Ugolawo. I would travel, all the way from Lagos to Agenebode in the present day Edo State. From Agenebode, I would join a ferry that carries both human and vehicular items, across from Agenebode to Ida. Ida then was in Benue State. Then from Ida, the school bus will be waiting for us to take us to Ugolawo. But now Ugolawo is in Kogi State. My parents felt that Ugolawo was too far. So they had to find a way to change me from Federal Government College Ugolawo to Federal Government College Idwani. So that I would say pro unitate.
Pro unitate.
Okay. As regards your question,
Right.
The advent, of technology has also influenced the media world. You know, today we have a lot of people who pose as a source of news. You know, one of the factors that has also affected the media world is the advent of technology. You have a lot of people now who now think that they should be trusted source, of information without necessarily going through the rudiment of being a proper journalist or being a proper media. So with that, you also have the advent of fake news. People who are in a hurry to post what they cannot verify. People who are in a hurry to post what they just gathered without even trying to find out whether it is true or not. So the advent of fake news, the advent of social media has also had profound effect, on journalism and on media operations.
Whilst I do concede that there are those negatives, and it's a very big deal that government, societies, international organizations are still grappling with how to deal with that, and I don't think we found a solution to it yet. But does it have any positives? Because it's easy to draw the negatives from everybody being able to real time post information, and there are lots of negatives to that, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I feel there's a flip side to that also. Are there positives to it?
Yeah, let me admit that there are, let's say, certain positives to it. One of the things journalism will teach you is balance. Place a balance on it. So if you find out something has happened, the natural law of fairness says hear from the other party. More than often not, you see people who post certain things on the social media. They may be true and they may not be completely true. So in order to eliminate this idea of thinking whether it is right or not, why don't you endeavor to hear from the other side? So let's give an example. Let's say company A was awarded a contract to construct a road. And company A starts the construction. Maybe let's assume that the road construction is 10 kilometers. And company A starts the construction and stops at 3 kilometers. Somebody goes ahead and posts on social media, company A has abandoned the road project. Now, there's a certain truth to it. Truth number one, the road contract was awarded to company A. Next truth, the contract has been stopped at 3 kilometers. Truth. So you have two truths coming forward. But the final one, and possibly the most important of what whoever that is posted that should have done is, okay, how much has been paid to company A? So let's assume that the value of the contract is 100 million and company A has been paid only 30 million as mobilization fee.
Pardon me, we might speak to why was the project stopped at 3 kilometers?
Exactly. Why has the contract stopped or the project stopped at 3 kilometers? It means that in signing the contract, there are certain thresholds that were established in the contract. So the contract says upon 30% mobilization, this is the threshold you should achieve. So that by the time you achieve the first threshold, we will pay you for the second threshold. So the company has done the threshold one, which is at 30%, this is where the contract will stop. Now, the contractor A is waiting for further payment to continue the road construction, but he has not been mobilized. So somebody goes ahead and posts, road contract award to company A has been abandoned. So you look at it, there are truths in the story. One, the company started. Two, it was awarded to company A. Three, the company A is no longer continuing with the contract. True. But what you have not investigated is why did the company stop? A traditional media house will probably go to that extent and say, look, company A, you were awarded this contract. Why did you stop? So it means that a responsible media organization will approach the company, and the company will be able to say his own side of the story. Yes, we were awarded the contract, we were mobilized to the tune of this amount. Look at what the threshold says in the certificate if we are mobilized at 30%. Look at what the threshold says if we are to be paid the next tranche of money. That way, whoever that is reading the story has a balance, has an idea to say, okay, maybe that's why the company is no longer continuing. They have not paid him the money. Remember, it is also the responsibility of a responsible media house to go to the agency that awarded the contract. You awarded the contract to company A. You mobilized at 30%. Company A is now saying that, look, you have not paid them the next threshold to take it to another 3 kilometers. That way, the awarding agency is able to say, no, we have paid him, don't mind him. Or we have not paid the contractor truly, we are expecting funds. Now, the reader who is going through such a story hears from the company, hears from the company how far it has gone, and of course, is able to also hear from the awarding agency to say, look, we have actually paid or we have paid. That comes from a responsible media organization. But to a social media person, to somebody who now says, look, I am a citizen journalist, it doesn't get to this extent. Then you understand that there is now a gap in the information he has shared to the members of the public.
In other words, what it does, irrespective of the level or number of truths posted by, and we have a lot of that around these days from
True.
so-called social media personalities, or as they refer to them these days, influencers.
Social media influencers.
Some of them very popular and quite famous, even have attained celebrity status. It is not journalism.
Definitely. Definitely. It is not journalism. There's nothing bad in citizen journalism. Why I say there's nothing bad in citizen journalism is that it depends on the angle you're coming from. So let's look at a responsible citizen journalism like this. So there's a bad road in an area, and you either stay in that area, or you are an indigene of that area, or you ply the road that leads to that area. There is absolutely nothing wrong for you to draw the attention of the government that is responsible for that road, local government, state, or federal government. There's absolutely nothing bad in doing citizen journalism to say, look, the road leading to my community is in a terrible state. There's absolutely nothing, bad in that. But everything will be bad if you make an accusation that cannot be verified. That is where the balance comes in. That is where if you accuse Mr. Z of embezzling money based on what you are told, the law of fairness, the natural law of balance says that at least give the man you are accusing of embezzling money the right to respond. Let it be that you get across to the man and the man says, I don't want to talk. Put it there. When contacted, the man says, I don't want to talk. Rather than just rush into the media space, into the social media space, and say, Mr. A has embezzled 100 million, just simply based on what you were told. That is not journalism.
You described some very serious levels of harassment journalists have faced in the past or more recently. We went as far as describing even real instances where journalists were murdered. But with the advent of the digital age, are there new forms of harassment journalists face, especially online? And how do those go?
No, I'm sure you know that because the traditional media has processes. Processes in the sense that they don't just go ahead and publish any kind of news without verification. That is not the problem of those who hold offices, not just at the government level, even in the private sector. That is not their business. The business of those who hold political position or certain offices, even in the private sector, is that why do you have to publish? Hope you understand. There are two different things. One thing is for you to publish and they feel threatened by what you have published. No. Some are even asking you, why do you have to publish? How is it your business for you to even publish? So they are not questioning whether what you have published is right or wrong. Absolutely no. What they are worried about is, why do you have to put it in the media space? So you understand what is their fear. They don't even want their names to be mentioned at all. They don't even want the offices they occupy to be mentioned at all.
But
They
in,
just want to be in secrecy.
but in these instances, are there harassments that journalists also face using online tools, which is good for journalists also?
Definitely, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Look, they are worried that you have actually published it online. That's what I'm saying. It is not the publishing that is their problem. What is their problem is, why did you publish?
So in the real world, I can get how they can harass journalists, maybe physically harm them
Yes.
or other things. But I'm saying that the journalists face similar harassment
Absolutely.
in the digital space, online.
I'm giving you the background. I'm saying
okay, all right.
why they face the threats is that some of the people who question it,
What I'm asking you, sir, is how, in what ways do they face those threats online?
of course, by getting security agencies to arrest the reporter or even the editor of such a media organizations, because there's almost no media organization that does not have an online presence as at today. So you have people who are threatened by that publication. They get their lawyers.
But once again, that's it. That's now a physical reaction to something that happened online.
Yes.
But in the online space, the journalists get harassed, threatened, possibly strictly in the online space,
Of course.
in the digital space.
Of course, you have people who occupy these offices. They get their boys to begin to threaten you online, to begin to harass you online. They even go to the extent of getting people to say, look, what I've written is pure lie. It is not the truth. It did not happen. Of course, you get harassed even online. You have, I'm sure you know, like I said earlier, you have politicians who are desperate. And a desperate politician can go to any length to get certain things done. And that includes looking for their boys, in quote, to respond to you online. So you make a post online, or there's a post about on a social media space that belongs to a media organization. They get their boys, in quote, to begin to respond, to say, no, it is not true. You're a liar. You were sponsored by an opposition, an opposition party to make this publication. It's a lie. You have a personal grounds, just to discredit that report. Of course, they get harassed online.
Considering how crucial, how I think the word indispensable is appropriate here, the journalist and the practice of journalism is to any society, and in our case, the Nigerian society, what roles do we all have to play to protect journalists? And by we all, I mean all of us, individuals, governments, institutions, private, you name it.
I think we need I think we need more enlightenment, Dio. We need to have more responsible people holding certain positions, not just in the public sector, even in the private sector. We need to have people who aspire to occupy these offices, so that when you aspire to occupy an office, you are not afraid of being interrogated. I talked about enlightenment. I talked about making the economy better. The ability of the people to reason is tied to their economic prosperity. I think the more economically you are empowered, I think the better you are able to reason. I'm saying this because sometimes, Dayo, you even carry out an investigation as a journalist, maybe against a governor, maybe against a local government chairman, maybe a member of the National Assembly. And you'll be shocked that the people who you are trying to ensure that they get the best of information and be able to make informed decisions, they are the same people who will vilify you and ask you who sent you. How is it your business? Did we send you to go and ask him questions? Yet, this same set of people want a better society. So we can only appeal, to the members of the society. Look, the journalists are not their enemies. Some even say the journalists are their enemies. The media houses are not their enemies. The media houses exist only to help them make informed decisions so that they can know what is happening. That's on one part. On the other part is to get political parties to also live by the principles of democracy. Recruit those who can help buoy up the political capital of your party. Those who can help your party. Go out there, look for the best of candidates to join your party and let them aspire to occupy positions, because a prosperous society, a very decent society, an economically empowered society also helps the citizen to reason better. So let's appeal to the people. Media houses are not their enemies. They are rather out there to help them make informed decisions and be able to help fulfill their hopes and aspirations about life.
How can organizations, and I mean, private and even NGOs, not for profits, help to better support? I'm sure a number of them doing, their bit over time, but how can they better support journalists, especially in difficult terrains, maybe like ours?
Yeah, there are several ways they can do that. Maybe through training, helping to source for people who want to do training, helping to, get better opportunities for journalists to know more about the way and manner, the sector operates. Get to also help them interrogate some of these people who occupy certain positions, because some of the private organizations also have access to those who occupy certain positions. Can you help them bring these people forward? You have a lot of people who occupy certain positions and they're even afraid to talk to the press because they already see the press as an enemy. They don't know that the press is also to help them, at least showcase what they have been able to do in office and how they have been able to become receptive to ideas that can make the society better. Those are the platforms upon which private organizations can operate.
You've been doing this for decades now. There must be a reason. You must have some kind of hope or optimism in spite of some of the very grievous concerning challenges you've identified in the course of this conversation. What gives you hope about the future of journalism in this country?
Well, for some of us who have the fervent belief in helping the society to get better, we believe that the society cannot get better without those who are out there to interrogate, those who shape opinions, those who shape policies, those who make programs. And that's been the driving force, behind some of us. That look, we need a better society. We are not just talking about our generation. We have succeeding generations. We have children already. What kind of society do we want to hand over, to our children? I can't remember who actually, I think it's Wole Soyinka, I hope I'm correct on this, that said that his generation was a wasted one. And the ones succeeding him was already a wasting generation. And Dayo, some of our most productive generations are being shipped abroad. Today, you have thousands of Nigerian professionals doing well in foreign countries. These are people that can help shape Nigeria to become better. But the society, the way and manner we shape the politics of Nigeria has not been appealing to these people. You see, some of what drives some of us, we went through the slave trade. During the slave trade, we shipped abroad some of our most productive generations. Maybe those are people that could have helped Nigeria become better. Slave trade shipped them abroad. After we stopped slavery, after independence, look at what has happened in the last 20 years. We have the favorite word, Japa. With this Japa, we are now shipping abroad some of our brightest minds because they do not believe that Nigeria will ever progress. So the driving force behind some of us is that, look, we can't give up. We need to continue to interrogate the system. We need to continue to find ways and means to ensure that we hold people accountable because, of course, my generation It's going already. What about the succeeding, generation? My first child is about 28 years younger than me. What kind of Nigeria are we bequeathing to them? I'm sure maybe she might also be thinking one day, this country is not for me. Like we said, the local parlance, Nigeria is not for me. Maybe my daughter maybe also be thinking too, Nigeria is not for me. Let me find the greener pasture somewhere. How long, are we going to be continuing this? Nigeria is a great country. We just need to find the right leadership and the right followership. People say the leadership is the problem. Unfortunately, where does leadership come from? Is it not from the followership? We want a better country, but we do not want to become better citizens. We just have to find a way, to rescue the future of Nigeria. And for us as journalists, we won't give up in trying to hold leaders accountable for their actions.
The cost of truth has been the conversation for this episode of Canvas to Niger-Delta Roundtable in commemoration of World Press Freedom Day 2026. And we couldn't have chosen a better guest for this conversation, the person of Olalekan Ige, veteran journalist. Lekon, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Always, it's a pleasure
Thank you.
discussing national and relevant issues with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us as well. I think enough said already. I'm Dayo Lushakin. Thank you for watching and listening to this edition of Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable brought to you by Barry Nasons. Bye for now.